Hello, David and Tim here at the Single Malt Review, and today we're delving into fortified wine territory. Fortified wine casks, port and sherry, are very common in whiskey maturation, but it's not often we actually sample the wine itself. And today's bottle is a little bit different and a bit unusual.
Yeah, it sure is. I've been, I warned you this was coming. Fino Sherry was going to hit the channel one way or the other, but this one is going to be even weirder, because this I just picked up on a lark because I was already bidding on those other whiskey auctions, and this one was being shown no love at all, so I thought, well, if it's any good, it'll be a bargain. So we're hoping it is. This is a pretty ancient bottle of Fino Sherry from Sandeman, who most people recognise from port, but they do make, or rather they bottle, sherries as well. And Fino Sherry, well, that's something, you know, some sherry casks, they find their way, or rather whiskey finds its way into those all the time. Fino Sherry casks, not so much, and there's a pretty good reason for that, because Fino Sherry is weird. It's really weird, as Dave is about to find out, and he's going to get a proper judge out of this one. So let's see first how to even, because there are parts of this bottle that is actually disintegrating. I don't think this has been kept in the best conditions, because that's not even going to work. I should have maybe gotten the
Maybe pull up on that cord and
that's the intention, but it's oh, here we go. Yes. Not quite. This bottle has maybe been less than astonishingly well cared for, but still works.
Yeah.
Cork smells slightly dubious. See how we go. So, if this is super dark, this bottle's compromised.
We're looking okay.
We're looking okay. There's a few floaters, and where they came from.
Bits of a label and
say they were probably from the coat. This is slightly darker than it should be, but we'll say that's probably okay.
So as for age, this bottle dates from somewhere in the 90s, possibly on the earlier side. We know because it's got the stamp here commemorating the company's bicentennial in 1990, but there is no URL. And by the end of the 90s, companies will put their website on everything. So, somewhere in that decade.
So, is this still good? We're going to be looking for sort of heaps of citrus and a little bit of weird sherbet, is what Fino Sherry is all about.
Fairly sturdy, 16.5% ABV. My experience of Fino Sherry is limited mainly to a bottle of Manzanilla, which we opened over Christmas.
Yeah. Fino Sherry is, the more you know about Fino Sherry, the weirder it gets. This is something you want to wiki at your own risk. It's possibly one of the most bizarre methods of manufacturing something ever. Once you learn about floor yeast, you'll be shook. You'll be shook in a way that you'll never recover from. It sounds really gross, the process of making Fino Sherry. Basically, all sherry is very, very dark in a way that this is not, because it is made in an oxidative environment. It's fully oxidized by the time it leaves the barrel, enters the bottle, and that's sort of part of its charm, really, part of its flavour. Fino Sherry uniquely is not, and the way it achieves this, because it's in a barrel with air in it, just like all the other ones, is that's the fortification is applied late, which leaves the whole thing a bit more bioactive, and it has a very benign name of floor yeast, but that is cultivated and grows over the top of the surface and just looks like there's a massive thick layer of, honest to goodness, mould growing inside the barrel. But what this does, as long as the barrel is not agitated, is actually seals in the freshness and stops the O2 from getting at the maturing wine.
So if your average fortified wine, it's allowed to ferment, and then brandy is added, which fortifies it and also kills off the yeast. Then it is matured. So you're telling me that here, this is matured, goes through this Solera aging system before it's fortified.
I'm thinking back to my class, and I believe that is true. I would need to absolutely double check, so correct me if I'm wrong, please, in the comments. But yes, I think that is how this one is achieved. It allows it to age with that little bit of, with that barrier, so you get a much, and again, this is looking a little
fungal biome going on.
This is looking a little richer. So yeah, you get a lighter bodied spirit. You get a non-oxidized spirit, which is the biggest difference, but also that yeast, it does something, man. It changes it. Something goes weird there.
And it certainly smells of it. There's
It's uniquely bizarre. All right, we just got to get in there.
Ooh,
Yep.
that has held up well. That is quite delicate. It is bone dry. It's full of some slightly sharp, slightly bitter, slightly off elements. It's a bit like a very old vintage champagne, but with all the
a little bit.
all the effervescence stripped away.
You get some of the yeast weirdness in old champagne.
Yeah.
Coming through here because there is a lot of old yeast weirdness going on. I think this one has, I don't know quite what's happened to this bottle, but I think this has suffered a little bit of air exchange with the environment generally, just based on the slight, there's a ropiness, there's a ropiness to this cork, though the seal is 100% intact. I think just, I don't know, it was never meant to go as long as this one did. This is, I mean, yes, it keeps, but this has kept for a hell of a long time. Goodness, we'll see how it is tomorrow. So this is a little bit of a, this is a slightly deeper, darker experience. Fino Sherry is normally even drier, even more acerbic, than this.
This is a lighter and more approachable wine than the modern Manzanilla, which I have in the fridge at home right now.
Is the Manzanilla a bit more aggressive, maybe?
Yeah, it's a much sharper, more pungent, more potent. I think
It's been
darker
years
wine.
since I even had that.
It's a lower ABV as well, 15 as opposed to the 16.5 we have here. This is a more delicate and simply lighter bodied.
I think how this one's also changed is it may have lost some of its acid. As that oxidation creeps in, not only does the colour go richer, which has definitely happened here, it eats away at that acid. And this one should be, I was expecting full-on tangy lemon sherbet is sort of my overriding note for Fino Sherry, and it's not quite so much, it's not here in the force that I thought it was going to be. It's getting a bit more of that wood walnut kind of a thing. Walnut especially is
it's full of yeast
Yeah.
and bread aromas and flavours, and also that nuttiness.
So we'll just have to see. This is certainly drinkable.
Yeah.
It's a little bit altered, but we won't declare it dead.
No.
It's just a bit of got a bit of speed wobble on the way for the 20 years that it's been in the bottle. More than 20 years now. So whether this is still alive after I put it back in the fridge, we've got a barbecue tomorrow. We're going to hoon it out then.
Yeah.
And we
No, I
shall
think this will
see.
do fine being well chilled, and won't have to better finish off before it.
It's
turns.
also a weird example of something getting a bit more ordinary for going strange. If this was and I'll have to do this now, new 100% unaffected, not slightly age worn Fino Sherry, that's a way more screw your face up, what am I drinking experience. This has actually sort of, by being slightly faltered, it's gone more normal because total tongue insanity is the norm for real Fino Sherry. This one, by losing some of its edge, has actually gotten a bit more approachable. I thought I was really going to blow you up with this stuff, and it's a bit disappointing that this is lost kind of its edge, unless the style has changed. You know, things could have.
Could well have.
90s was a very different time for sherry. It was a much more, much livelier time for sherry. Really, there was more grandmas around to drink it, I suppose, if nothing else. But yeah, so this is interesting. I think we'll check back in to see what this is doing to us tomorrow. But we will have the opportunity surely. So anyway,
For now, it's a unique offering. It's a one-off time capsule of this era in fortified wine.
lovely bottle actually. It's really, I like the completely smoked glass and the sturdiness. That's when you actually got proper smoked glass. Not
Also, the
painted
glass
bottles.
top on the cork to make it full-on stopper. Or
Well,
is
it's
it
a plastic, but it still looks
apart.
pretty nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll bung that one back in there, and where we go. All right, no scores for this guy. We don't do oddities like that, but we bit of different, bit of spirit culture there, which is, I guess, if you take it all the way in, that's a Fino Sherry pun. But anyway, it's enough from us here at the Single Malt Review. We're just winding down with this one here, We're having escaped the rum hole at last, and we'll be diving back in next time. There's no rest for the wicked. So I hope the new year is treating everyone very, very well. We're surviving over here despite the heat, but we will be right back. Slanger, or whatever they say in Jerez. I have no idea.